Why is this train running on the left-hand side? In today's video, we are riding one of the 11 Metra lines in the Chicagoland area. Up today is the Union Pacific West line. Though it's not the longest Metra line, it does go the farthest west of any of the lines. What's more, the UP West line runs over what was the first railway line in Chicago. As you can see, there's so much to unpack here. Today, our destination will be Elmhurst, Illinois. We begin our journey in downtown Chicago. This is the West Madison Street entrance of Chicago Union Station, and this is not where we'll be getting on our train today. Instead, we need to go to the other side of the street to Ogilvie Transportation Center. Here's a tip for you. If you Google this station, make sure to add the words Transportation Center to your search. It will make a big difference as to what results you get. This station is the 6th busiest station in all of the US. Today, Metra's Union Pacific North, Northwest, and West lines use this terminal. It was built in 1911 by the Chicago and Northwestern Railway. It used to have a beautiful head house until it was demolished in 1984 to build this office tower. The train shed, where the platforms are located, was left intact and still exists today. You can enter this station from the old train shed, taking the stairs up to about the middle of the platforms. The office building is called the Accenture Tower, though it was previously known as 500 West Madison. The bottom floors include shops as well as a food court. If you go up the escalators, it also directly connects to the end of the Metra platforms. In a way, it functions as the modern station concourse for Ogilvie Transportation Center. Now, there are two places within Ogilvie Transportation Center where you can get a bite to eat before your trip. Now, on the ground floor of the Accenture Tower, there is a food court, but I don't really recommend going there because, well, first of all, it's all just generic American fast food brands, the same kind of stuff that you'll find in every mall and on the side of the highway, so really, where's the fun in that? But second, if you're unlucky like I was on that day, you might run into a security guard who, instead of, de-escalating, making sure the building is safe, making sure people are helped, would rather spend his time making things worse, being rude to everybody, yelling at me, yelling at an elderly couple who was just asking for directions, and pretty much everybody else that was in his space that day. Very unprofessional. Kind of one of the worst experiences I've ever had filming something for this channel, but not to worry, there's a much better option for food at Ogilvie Transportation Center, and for that we're going to go back to the old train shed and we're going to visit the French Market. The French Market is one of my favorite places in Chicago, and that's saying something because there are a lot of places I like in Chicago. The space is divided into two main sections. The part closer to the train hall has some food-related shops, while in the back there are little restaurants representing cuisine from all over the world. A seating area is provided for you to enjoy your food. So yeah, I prefer coming here. There's food from all over the world, and although it's a little bit pricey, nobody knows this place exists, so it's nice and quiet. Plus, they serve some of the best French fries that I've had this side of the Atlantic. Our train's departure time is fast approaching, so it's time to head up to the platforms. Today we are riding UP West train number 505, which will run all the way to Elburn, with an F40PH-3 locomotive up front. I guess the cars this close to the locomotive aren't open right now, so we have to walk to the back of the train to get on board. On these gallery cars, both floors are in one big space, so the top floor basically functions as a balcony. These cars are getting their own dedicated video on this channel very soon.
This is the Metra 505 making all scheduled stops to Elburn. First stop will be Oak Park. At this time, if you can get your tickets out, launch your mobile apps, conductors will come by and collect tickets. Tickets, please, tickets.
Immediately, our train crosses over the tracks used by Metra's Milwaukee District lines. This is one of Chicago's best rail fanning spots. When you time it right, you can get a shot of one Metra train crossing over another one. You might notice we're traveling really slowly leaving Ogilvie. That's not just because of this sharp curve. For the next few miles, as we travel through Chicago's West Loop neighborhood, we will parallel the Milwaukee District lines, staying north of them. However, after Western Avenue, we have to end up south of them. How do we do that? With a good old level junction. This is a big bottleneck on one of America's busiest stretches of passenger tracks, and I really wish that the state would build a flyover or some sort of facility so that trains are no longer in each other's way. very rarely do I ride a train that makes it through the junction without stopping for another train. This bridge we're crossing under used to belong to the L system. Though the tracks have long been removed, the bridge itself remains because the signals for our Metra train are attached to it. The Union Pacific West Line is owned by the Union Pacific Railroad. Before 1995, it was the Chicago and Northwestern Railway. The UP West Line, together with the Northwest and North Lines, are operated by Union Pacific. It's pretty rare to see passenger trains operated by a freight company, and it's about to get even more rare. Starting in 2024, Union Pacific will no longer be responsible for these trains, and Metra will begin operating them directly. The tracks will remain property of the Union Pacific. Our first stop is Oak Park, which is the Harlem and Lake station on the Green Line. So, as we leave the CTA Green Line behind us, let's talk a little bit about colors, shall we? Metra doesn't name its lines after colors, and I mean, why would you when you have a system that already makes so much sense? But the lines do have colors on the system map, and the UP West Line's color is pink. Well, actually it's called Kate Shelley Rose. Because back in 1881, in Iowa, a railroad bridge owned by the Chicago and Northwestern collapsed in a severe storm. A crew of 4 who were checking the track conditions plunged into the river below. Kate Shelley found them, and in the middle of the violent storm, she crawled over what was left of the bridge and then walked 2 miles to the station to warn the railroad. Crews were able to rescue 2 of the 4 men, but most importantly, a train was stopped from crossing the broken bridge, meaning Shelley had saved hundreds of lives. The UP West Line is pink to honor her legacy since it used to belong to the Chicago and Northwestern Railway. Perhaps you might not have noticed this, but when you look out the window, something weird is going on. There are no tracks on our left side, but there are tracks on the right side. That means we are running on the left side. This may seem normal to my British, Australian, Japanese, Belgian, French, or Swiss viewers, but here in the US that's highly unusual. On double track lines, trains almost always run on the right-hand side. Yet this is no mistake. Trains on the UP West, Northwest, and North lines are all scheduled to run on the left. Now approaching Elburn. Why is this? Well, we're arriving at Elmhurst now, so I'll tell you once we get outside. With only about a third of the journey complete, our train roars west towards Elburn. So there are many theories about why these trains run on the left. One thing is for sure, it goes back to the days of the Chicago and Northwestern Railway. And this is the theory that I find most credible. Remember when I said that the UP West Line was the oldest railway in Chicago? That very first railway was called the Galena and Chicago Union Railroad, which was chartered in 1836 and began running trains in 1848. It ran from Chicago to Elgin, and the tracks up to West Chicago are still used by the UP West Line today. Now, most of the communities on the railroad were on the north side of the railroad, so the platforms of the stations were built on the north side. Makes sense, right? Well, as ridership grew, the line had to be double-tracked. Since there were a bunch of platforms on the north side of the tracks, the second track was built on the south side. At that moment, they could have decided that the trains would run on the right side, but they didn't. They wanted to prevent passengers boarding Chicago-bound trains from crossing the tracks. So the decision was made to have Chicago-bound trains run on the north track, aka the left track. Chicago and Northwestern kept this tradition, and so did Union Pacific once they took over. Because once such a decision is made, it's almost impossible to reverse it. Just imagine how much it would cost to reverse every station sign and every signal. Plus, regular passengers are used to going to the left track. Well, this is Elmhurst. It's definitely the Chicago suburbs. The 5/1 reigns supreme here. So like most metro stations, the waiting room is locked outside of rush hour. So a very pleasant station if you happen to work a 9 to 5 in Chicago and you live in Elmhurst. But for the rest of us, outside it is. I will say, and this is a good thing, but they take railroad crossing safety very seriously here in Elmhurst. I feel like it might be a good time for this railroad crossing to close. What do you think? So this freight train looks like it might be coming to a stop, but Elmhurst Station has something that almost no other metro station does. So both platforms at Elmhurst Station are connected to each other via an underpass. Unfortunately, they're only connected to a staircase and not an escalator, so they're not accessible. Though it looks a little bit dark and gross in here, I actually did not find it unpleasant at all. On the other side, you pop up right by the main station hall, and this is perfect for situations like this where there's a train blocking the tracks for an extended period of time. It helps the railroad to not be such a barrier for pedestrians, although like I said, accessibility would be nice. Okay, so that underpass might look a little bit gross, but let me tell you, that is a luxury that not a lot of metro stations have. In most cases, if a train is blocking your track, you just gotta wait for it. So now you know why Metra trains on the Union Pacific West, Northwest, and North lines run on the left-hand side. Make sure that that subscribe button is not left unclicked. Subscribe to Trains Are Awesome. Thanks for watching today. We'll see you next time.